Welcome, everybody, to another episode of This Week in Real Estate, hosted by yours truly. I'm Ray. We have an exciting day. We're going to be talking about home prices dropping 10% and where in the world that this is happening. But before we dive into all this, I want to bring up a special guest. Please welcome... Oh, wait, hang on. Oops. Christa Nielsen. Yay! Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
Christa and I go way, way, way back to the days of when Clubhouse was a new, fresh, new thing. It was like the AI of 2020.
We were so cool. We were so cool back then.
All the time. We had the group was the Real Estate Networking Group, which is, we are actually broadcasting in right now. So there's a lot of people joining us there now. So, hey guys, we broadcast in 4 or 5 different locations. One of them is Clubhouse, where we just originally met. The other is YouTube, Facebook. There's like 2 or 3 places on Facebook. There's there's not Instagram yet. There's LinkedIn, Twitter. We're broadcasting on Twitter now. So we just keep adding places where people can chime in. And if you're watching live, you can comment, and then we can display your comment and talk about you, or we can reference your comments. So there's Matt LaMarche. He's saying first again. Can't nobody touch my record. He's proud of being first. And if you're wondering, like, how does Matt LaMarche wind up commenting first on almost every single show? Well, he subscribed and he hit the bell. So when we say, hey, we're going live, he gets a notification that, bam, we're live. So that's the way to do it. Olivier, he's also joining us in 2 different places. He's joining us in Clubhouse, and he's joining us on YouTube. So thanks for joining us, Olivier. And yeah, we should have you up here sometime for a northern perspective, our Canadian brother. But Christa.
Yes.
Hi. How are things going?
Good. That was a great plug in there. Thank you, Matt LaMarche. So to be clear, it's Ray. It's Ray that's the hot chick in the thumbnail.
I'm the hot chick. Yeah, Matt, for the audio listeners, which Christa is one. You rarely watch the show, right?
I'm an audio listener, not a hot chick.
Yeah. So Christa is an audio listener, and Matt posted, it's clear that only hot chicks get their photo on the thumbnail. Maybe he's a bit sore because he wasn't included in the thumbnail. Here is that thumbnail. Deserting markets. You could see the desert in the background, created with AI, by the way. And then we have very worrisome faces looking at this. That's kind of that is the major topic of the day. What markets are being deserted by buyers, and why are buyers leaving? But part of the reason why I chose the desert is because I went golfing this weekend and got so burnt. It was so, like, my head. I mean, you can see the redness there.
I could see that. It's not lighting.
I'm going to back up a little bit so people can't see. It was so bad. And so I was like, well, I have to take a thumbnail photo. I'm going to make it look like I'm in the desert.
That was the theory.
Yeah, that was the whole theory behind using that. It's because if I can make it look like I'm in a desert, then people are going to say, oh, he's not sunburned. It's just part of the gig.
It's hot.
Yeah, part of the gig. So as you can see, I also cut off the top of my head. But you can see now that I put this up there, the redness on my arm and face, and my ears. Yeah, it's bad. Now that I've mentioned it,
enhanced.
You can see.
Now I can't unsee it. Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, there you go. But thanks for joining us. Tell everyone what market you serve.
Yes, so I am in sunny Silicon Valley in California, Northern California to be specific. We never know what to call ourselves. Bay Area, San Jose, Silicon Valley, all of the above. It's a very interesting and hot topic location, though.
It is a super hot topic, especially on June 5th. Everyone knows what's happening on June 5th. Do you know what's happening June 5th? Do you keep up with this?
What's happening on June 5th?
The Apple announcement. There's going to be iPhone 15 or 14 Plus X, or all that kind of stuff.
Watching it like the Super Bowl. I guess that is.
Do y'all have Do y'all have Silicon Valley watch parties?
Only if someone I know is speaking. So we have many times where people that we know are speaking during the event, and so we will have watch parties. Yes, it's very Silicon Valley, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, but sometimes there are people that we know on there, and it feels kind of like we're local celebrities. We're not on stage, but people we know are. But it's very nerdy, and sometimes I get to send my direct complaints about something going on with an iPhone to someone that can actually fix it. So it's
to the person that made it.
for the element that I'm having an issue with. Yes. So
That's
we do.
hilarious.
I guess I didn't realize it was June 5th, but yes, I will be
I
watching.
think the announcement, the WWDC conference is June 5th through 9th. So normally I think it's on day one, June 5th. So
I'm here for it.
I'll be tuning in. We have some interesting folks joining us.
Interesting.
Not interesting. I'm just saying it that way. Shannon is here. The reason why this is interesting is because we're talking about Austin. We're talking about the Austin market.
Yeah.
So she'll be popping by. Hopefully you can stay tuned because we're talking about some major price decreases in Austin and what that means.
Yep.
Cindy said it's an interesting topic. I agree, Cindy. Thanks for joining. Maybe she was talking about the sunburn at the time there. I don't know. I don't know which one. But you can also join us on Facebook. There you go. You see Christian and Antonio. They're joining us. Thanks, guys. All right. Well, without further delay, why don't we jump into, give me a second so I can hit the button. Okay. Let's jump into this first topic of the day because every Wednesday, if there's no major breaking news, every Wednesday we get the mortgage rate report.
Yeah.
And you guys might be surprised to find exactly where this rate currently sits. Mortgage rates hit 7%. Oh wait, hang on. I have a, let me find it. I'm going to re-say that and we're going to have some fun with it. Maybe I don't have it anymore. I changed up my whole soundboard when I did a DJ thing for someone. Man, I don't have the dun dun dun. Oh, well, I can use this one though. Okay. Mortgage rates hit 7%. Last time in our market that mortgage rates hit 7%, it was not great news. A ton of buyers pulled out from the market, but our investors made good. So the shaky mortgage market, 7% mortgage rate, and its impact on home buyers. The mortgage market is currently facing significant challenges as the average rate in the 30-year fixed mortgage surpassed 7%, a level not seen since March, according to the mortgage. Really in March? I thought it hit 7%. I guess it did like for a day, but I thought the last time it hit 7% was in October. Interesting. This increase is driven by the convergence of factors that have raised investor concerns. Firstly, ambiguity over the Federal Reserve's next move. They did take out, if you recall, the Federal Reserve removed a key sentence from their last interest rate hike that supposedly everyone thought, well, they're not going to be raising rates in the future. But we've had good jobs reports. We've seen a continued expansion of the economy. Inflation is still there. It did come down a little bit, but it's still happening. So Joel Kahn, he's an economist on the Mortgage Bankers Association, says, since rates have been so volatile and for sale inventory scarce, we've yet to see sustained growth in purchase applications. So we know that the Fed is after a 10% decrease in home prices, which we're talking about today. Maybe this will stem the tide. These circumstances have contributed to a rise in mortgage rates last week, subsequently leading to a decrease in mortgage demand. The MBA seasonally adjusted index reported a 4.6% decrease in total mortgage application volume for the previous week. Number of mortgage applications to purchase a home declined 4% for the week and were 30% lower than the same week a year ago. However, a lot of real estate agents, and Christa, maybe you could speak to this too, even with really high mortgage rates as compared to recent history, there's still a lot of real estate agents that say the number one cause of the decrease in purchase applications is not the rate, but the lack of inventory.
Yes.
What are you seeing?
100%. So I see a lot of people getting very frustrated in this market because in our area, so San Jose Metro, we are seeing constant bidding wars again. So on average, I mean, open houses are getting anywhere from 10 to 30 groups visiting in a day, and showings are just constant to the point of filling up again on a non-vacant home. And we're seeing a lot of buyer fatigue. I mean, you're looking to buy a house, you're excited. The first thing that buyers assume when they're buying a house is, I'm going to find the house and I'm going to make an offer and I'm going to get it. And that isn't happening right now. And
that is such a funny assumption from people inside the industry that see like, yeah, you're going to make probably 10 offers this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And
That's one of the things we have to break the news to buyers. Like, be prepared, especially my investors. We straight up tell my investors, you're going to make 20 offers.
yeah.
Like, what? Like, yeah. Unless it's homes that have been lingering on the market for a long time, you're going to make 20 offers.
Yeah. And
just get ready.
I think it's misinformation as well. And I know I started on a rant and I said, I'm going to wait for the podcast.
Yeah. Hold it. We are getting to that news report very soon.
Yeah.
Matt Lamar said really high, kind of like W when he smoked. What? No, not that kind of high, Matt. Not that kind of high. It's a different kind of high. Talking about rates here. But we know as rates go up, traditionally, sales go down, but it seems like sales went down first. We actually have another report here that I'll get about home sales in April. So home sales dip in April amid high prices. Yeah, like WI. Home sales dip in April amid high prices and unsteady mortgage rates. According to the National Association of Realtors, sales on previously owned homes fell by 3.4% in April compared to March, representing a seasonally adjusted annualized rate of 4.28 million units. This is a significant increase of 23.2 units from the same period last year. Wait, did I say increase? This is a significant decrease, of 23.2% from the same period the previous year. Although the demand remains robust, which we were just talking about, a variety of factors are challenging potential home buyers, leading to different local and regional dynamics. Lawrence Yunes, he's NAR's chief economist, commented on the fluctuating markets by saying, quote, the combination of job gains, limited inventory, and fluctuating mortgage rates over the last several months have created an environment of push-pull housing demand. As April's end, there were 1.04 million homes for sale, reflecting a 1% increase from April of last year. Based on the current sales price, this represents a 2.9 month of supply. Based on the current sales pace, not price, sorry. Based on the current sales pace, this represents a 2.9 month supply. A balanced market is traditionally about 6 months supply. The median price of existing homes sold in April was $388,800, which is a decrease of 1.7% from April the previous year. A drop may indicate an increase in sales activity in the lower, more affordable part of the market. Quote, roughly half of the country is experiencing price gains, you noted. Always the optimist. One more quote I want to get is from Danielle Hale, chief economist for Realtor.com. She highlighted the challenges for the first-time home buyers, stating that a drop in market competitiveness opens the door a bit wider, but the hurdles to entry are still quite high for first-timers who don't have an existing home equity to leverage for their down payment. And I think there's a lot of sellers out there. Well, I guess we're kind of getting that. These next stories run together quite a bit. Maybe I should just... Yeah, let me just cover this next story, and then we're going to have maybe a global discussion about all of it. So shrinking inventory and high mortgage rates keep home prices elevated. The median U.S. home price dipped 2.7% in the 4 weeks ending May 14, marking the smallest decrease in over a month, as high prices and rising mortgage rates resulted in record monthly mortgage payments. According to the data, home prices fell 28 of the 50 most populous U.S. metros, a decrease from 32 at the end of April. The decline reflects the imbalance between supply and demand that is keeping prices afloat. Although pending home sales have dropped by 15% from a year earlier, this figure is significantly less than the 24% decrease in new listings. High mortgage rates are discouraging home buyers from selling, with almost all current homeowners having a mortgage rate below 6%, while the average 30-year fixed rate was 6.39% at the time of this article. Taylor Marr, Redfin Deputy Chief Economist, explained that high mortgage rates continue to dictate the housing market. Although a lot of home buyers have acclimated to rates in the 6% range, many are finding ways to lower their monthly payments, like using a 2-1 buydown. High rates are handcuffing potential home sellers. And we're going to get into some of the regional trends in another article, but that's exactly what I was about to say, is that part of the inventory issue is that people are holding on to their homes because it's such low rates. And one of the first conversations we have with people that are thinking about selling is, what is your current rate? And when they say it's 2-point-something%, we say, ask your lender if you can keep it. because it's dumb not to advise that. Sorry. What is that happening? You are a much higher market. So
Yeah,
our median is 300. Yours is what?
about 1.3.
1.1, 1.3. So are people still considering keeping their home that has a super low interest rate in the $1.3 million range, or are they saying, nah, I'm gonna take this equity and run?
Well, here's the reality of a lot of people that are selling right now is they're relocating to more affordable places. And I have this conversation probably half a dozen times with clients every single week. And the biggest question is, why are people selling right now? Are they crazy? And it's a combination of equity and value and relocating to a more affordable place. So suddenly they're not so affected by interest rates because they know eventually they'll be able to curb that a little bit and refinance. They don't know when, but they're going from a price point of 1.3 to maybe a price point of 4 to 500,000. So first and foremost, relocations, especially people that have been in their home for 10 plus years, a lot of times they're paying all cash on the other side unless they want, for tax reasons, they want to carry a small
Right.
loan. So even people that are moving in our area, they're moving from an area that's a higher price point to a lower price point a lot of times. And again, they're carrying maybe a loan for 2 to 300,000 and the rest is cash. So that's where the good stuff is. If they're doing more of a lateral move or they're moving up, those are the clients that I'm seeing pull back a little bit because they have less options.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess if you did own your home outright, it would be cheaper essentially to sell the home and then take the equity from that and then purchase your next home because you're avoiding a lot of that 7%.
Yeah.
But we have seen people that have, maybe they have their mortgage half paid down. So they're basically refining, taking out the equity. So I have seen someone do that, but why do they do that? Because when they refied, they got a higher, I guess they just did a HELOC to take the portion out,
Probably
but they didn't touch the other.
Yeah, a cash out refi doesn't make sense in this climate.
So they just, their comment was that they refied, but I'm assuming they just took the portion of equity out of their home and then just left the other in the original loan.
Yeah.
If that can be done, I guess that could be done.
Yeah.
So this brings up a whole other issue when people are clamoring to keep their homes because of the low rates, and yet rates are now 7%. Our inventory is at 1 million, which is super low compared to what it needs to be. I think the comment is we still need 1.5 million new houses in order to satisfy the current demand. Living in Seattle, Washington, Christian Harris just said, I just practiced what I preached, quote unquote, to my clients. I sold my Seattle house at a 2.25% rate and bought a house at 5.25% for a house that better fits his family's needs out of state. Interesting. So did you switch your practice too? Are you not in Seattle? Living in Seattle, Washington. It's the name of his YouTube channel, but he moved.
I know Christian, but I'm not going to air his laundry.
Yeah.
So I'll let him tell that story. Yeah.
He said, as long as you can afford the mortgage and selling/buying gets you what you need.
Yeah. 100%. And I mean, that's the thing. Most people that are selling right now need to sell for various reasons. They're not choosing because it necessarily financially makes sense. That this is when people are holding on to staying in a condo maybe for one more year or, not moving up right now because that's the population that's actually affected by these interest rates. If you're selling high and buying low, not in a market sense, but just in a cost-driven sense of markets, right? So if you're selling in Seattle, I'm assuming Christian probably sold a home and was able to buy something else where he moved for maybe less. So in that situation, it's great because you're not as affected by those rates.
Well, he moved coast to coast. He said he'll be running his real estate team in Seattle and getting his license in Florida too. That's really cool. Well, congratulations.
Awesome.
To DeSantis land. We are seeing a lot of that. Actually, most of our reloads are coming from the West Coast into Arkansas. We're getting a couple of East Coast, but the vast majority of them are from West Coast. And we'll talk about one of those reasons in 2 or 3 articles here. But another reason why people are searching for affordability, um, it's cheaper to rent than it is to buy in all but 4 metros. So let's talk about this. Oops, I forgot my buffer. There you go. So cracking the rental real estate code, where buying beats renting in America. In the world of real estate, the debate between renting versus buying is always a hot topic. However, in most of the US, the scales are currently tipped in favor of renting. According to the fresh off the press analysis from Redfin, a home buyer would find their pocket lighter by a hefty 25% compared to a renter on average. However, that means it costs 25% more for someone to buy. However, there are a few outliers. For let's see, it's Detroit, Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Houston. Here, buying a home can make more financial sense than signing a real estate lease. In Detroit, the cost of buying a home is a remarkable 24% less than renting, offering the largest ownership discount among the top 50 U.S. metros. Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Houston also offer buying discounts of 7%, 4%, and 1% respectively. But what makes these 4 cities stand out? The key lies in their signature low home values, which haven't been keeping up with the national average. The lack of growth in home volumes might be a slight drawback because you also don't get the increase in equity moving forward if nothing changes. For home ownership to be more cost effective than renting elsewhere in the U.S., we need a significant drop in mortgage rates, which hasn't happened. On the other end of the spectrum, we have areas like the Bay Area, where buying a home requires a financial leap of faith, with a typical home costing 165% more than a rental. And cities like San Jose and San Francisco showcase the widening gap between buyers and renters, and the surge of mortgage rates and home prices in the pandy have made these markets increasingly inaccessible. Let's see. That's about all the hot topics. It's basically location, which we've all heard in the real estate world. But I've never seen the disparity quite that large, where it's 25% more expensive to buy and to make those monthly payments than it is to rent. What's the answer here? Is this just how it's going to be?
I don't know what the answer is. We're right there on top of that graph of being at that 163%. And I mean, it's hard to come back from that. I mean, we're seeing still people renting out apartments or homes with more people than they should, right? And I mean, sharing rooms and living rooms and garages, and I mean,
multi-generational housing. That's what that's called, or are they not related?
No, not related. Well, that also happens.
Yeah.
That also happens. But a lot of times it's it's a really unfortunate situation because, you know, when you're young, sure, you can pile them in. Who cares?
Yeah.
But when you get older, you have a family, you have a great career, and you still can't afford to buy a home because rent is $6,000 a month. I don't know what that solution is going to look like. And
I can't wait to one
definitely
day
a problem.
visit Silicon Valley and have you take me around and see stuff. I definitely want to tour the campus there. But one of the
The Silicon
images,
Valley campus?
no, Apple. It's the
Oh,
only
of
real
course.
campus, right?
The only one.
The only real campus. One of the images I have in my head is from Silicon Valley, the show,
Oh, the
where
show.
you have so a
Great
startup
depiction.
gets a
Yes.
rental, and like everyone for the startup just lives there and codes all day until they can figure it out because everything's so expensive. That's just where they live and
Well,
operate in a little house.
that's how most startups exist. That's how Apple started.
Yeah, in
I
a
mean, it happened
garage,
in a
right?
garage, but they lived in that home.
So
Yeah,
do
and
you see
that's
a lot of that
normal.
kind of thing? Is that like
Oh, yeah. Oh, all the time. This is very common.
I love that it's
Yeah.
more real now to me. That's so good.
Silicon Valley is one of the most realistic depictions. And I want someone to fight me on this, but it is a very realistic depiction
Oh, I love
of
it.
what Silicon Valley is. But yeah, it's definitely everybody gets in together. And a lot of people in tech, they have funky hours. They don't really care, right?
Yeah.
They don't mind. But once they have a family and everything else, like I said
Yeah.
before, that's when it gets a little trickier.
I'm not through with that show. But my hope is that one of them would like start to have a family and they have this startup culture. That would be hilarious to see.
You have failed me that you haven't finished the show. It finished a long time ago.
All four where people never want to live. He's talking about these cities. So let's talk about these. Where'd it go? Philadelphia, Cleveland, Houston, and Detroit.
Oh, the ones that are cheaper to buy than rent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But does that make it an opportunity then? Because if you can buy it and then rent it out for more, just right off.
Oh, I see investment all over this. This is great.
But is it going to work if they don't increase in value, if they go down? Now, Detroit during the crash had a terrible time. I remember entire neighborhoods emptying out and all that kind of stuff. I guess it's recovered since then, but just at a slower pace, maybe.
Yeah.
Do we have anyone from Detroit listening or in Clubhouse? Any Detroitians want to
Does anyone live in Detroit anymore? No? Anyone?
Anyone getting a deal in Detroit that can afford the new iPhone? Because you're living, it's more cost effective.
The iPhone costs the same there as it does here.
I know. That's one of the things that gets me. Like, you do real estate there. Your average sell price is 1.1 million, 1.3 million. My average sell price is 300,000. So I have to sell like 4 homes to match one of yours. And yet when I order something on Amazon and you order something on Amazon, it's the same daggum price.
A sandwich here costs $20 though. So there's that.
We make our own here. You can't just find a place to pick up a single sandwich most of the time.
Never ceases to amaze me how different Arkansas is. Okay.
Such differences. I mean, they do have sandwich shops here. They do, but it's just, why I'd have to drive there. You're not going to walk there. That's for sure. All right. Well, speaking of the changing markets, there's 2 more articles we're going to be covering about the differences. So I'll probably just go from one to the other again. But this next one is about Austin. So hopefully Shannon is still with us because I'd love to have her chime in on it. The great housing dip. Austin and Boise homes are now $80,000 cheaper. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so the real estate market is an ecosystem that thrives on balance, and it appears that the pendulum is swinging back. Nationwide, the median home sale price dropped a substantial 4.1%, which is 17,603 year over year in April, making it the biggest decline in the percentage terms since January of 2012. With elevated mortgage rates discouraging homebuyer demand, really? Maybe. We're seeing an interesting reversal of fortune. April's 2022 median sale price was a whisker away from the record set the following month, whereas now we're witnessing historic price declines in some of the priciest markets in pandy boom towns. While high mortgage rates have forced both home buyers and sellers into the waiting room, the paucity of homes for sale continues to cause a stir. With the new listings down 26.1% year over year in April, we have fewer sellers, leading to a limited pool of homes. Even though sluggish demand is nudging home prices down, the home shortage is keeping them from tumbling. All right, so looking at Texas, it's holding its own fairly well. 5 of the 10 metros with the smallest declines in pending sales are in Texas. However, there's Austin. I'm going to click. I think there's a really good chart on this. Let me go back to the source, which is the source on this one was Redfin. It was a Redfin analysis. And I'll share my screen here. And Christa, I'll bring you up too. All right, so give me just a second. Clicking a lot of stuff.
See, I came prepared. I have the article
You're so good.
right in front of me.
So good. All right, so this is I'm sharing it, but I have to click the tab. Bam. Now you guys can see this article. So home prices posted the biggest drop since 2012 in April. I mean, that is quite the drop. You can see it's escalating in 2021. It was significantly high towards the end there, and then it started to trend downward. It had some false hope going back up in 2022, and then it has trended down, down, down. So home prices fell from the year earlier. Here it is. The Oakland, California metropolitan area saw the biggest dip of 16.1%, 175,500 year over year, followed by Austin, which is a negative 15.3%, or 85,000. Boise, negative 15.1%, or 80,000. San Francisco, negative 13.4%, or 220,000. And Salt Lake City, 10.9% down at 60,000, which that's surprising. I figured Salt Lake would stay up just because of the touristy attraction that they have too, that people want to buy those short-term rentals there. But last show, we talked about the decrease in margins for short-term rentals, so maybe that has something to do with it. All right, here's the new listings that fell to the second lowest. So right now we have a decline in new listings, and we have a decline in home prices. Pending sales also falling. So usually when you have a decline in listings, you have an increase in home prices, but we're not seeing it. What's going on in these metros? Why aren't we seeing it?
Hey, Ray.
Yeah.
Jack.
Jack Atteridge, everybody. What's up, Jack? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, everything's good here in New England, but I think, I keep going back to the fact that these numbers are skewed because of lack of supply. And if some supply comes in a certain price range, then you're going to get some activity in that price range. But if supply doesn't come in other price ranges, that's when you don't have activity there, so they can't be stats. So I mean, and we're actually seeing up in the Boston area, a lack of supply in rentals too. So this enormous demand and lack of supply is really what's driving the statistics right now, and not the reality of what would be statistics if the buyer pool were being absorbed into the market.
Okay. So I'm going to play devil's advocate with you. I want you to explain to me then the inverse relationship of most economic data that I'm looking at. Right? So in economics, it's probably called economics when kids go there. Anyway, when you're in class, when I was in the old business school back in the day, we learned about supply and demand and the relationship between supply and demand and what happens when there's an increase or decrease in supply. So in general, when there's a decrease in supply of a widget, the widget becomes more expensive because the demand has remained the same. So if the demand goes down, then the widget starts to decrease in value until that supply meets the current demand. So they'll go down in supply to meet that current demand, and then the widget would kind of sustain itself. Apparently, what we are seeing in these numbers is that there are major metros with big negative numbers on pricing, and yet the supply is also going down. In economics, when you see this, it is the decrease of overall demand outpacing the decrease in supply that causes that to happen. So basically, what it means, and we've got another article that we'll just kind of roll into, but basically what it seems to mean, Jack, and this is where I want you to correct me as a real estate professional, is that people don't want to live in these metros and they're leaving, and the buyers are moving their demand somewhere else. But we're not seeing an extreme inverse in relationship of home prices escalating like we saw in 2021 and 22. So where are the buyers going?
So if they are leaving, then we would have more supply,
Right. And
which doesn't seem to be happening. And if the supply, the lack of supply is so low, and you're seeing sales say under $500,000 because maybe first-time home buyers are begging to move up, but you're not seeing supply come on the market above $500,000 because they're going to stick it out for a little while or add on to their house or do what they want to hold on to their rate. Then the statistics aren't there to say that, that more houses are selling over 500 than under 500.
Okay.
But I can tell you the demand from those 500s looking to go up is there, but there's no movement in the supply there. So again, I go back to the original point of the starvation of supply is really what's driving these numbers, I think, and not the actual circumstances of the market. If we were to be able to, so you say we need 1.5 million. If we were to come up with 750,000 homes right now, I think you would see the numbers shake out a lot differently on the reality of what the market needs right now, or the consumer needs.
Interesting. Good point, Jack. Thank you. Shannon says she's here. Yay, Shannon.
Yay, Shannon.
She says we have about 3 months of inventory, which that matches the national statistic, and a lot of new construction. So there is inventory. Is that what's causing the home price drop of about $80,000 a house? Is it the increase in inventory in Austin that is causing home prices to go down? Or are you still seeing multiple offers on property, Shannon? Oh, wait, look at her. She's look at that. She joined Clubhouse.
Is she here?
I didn't know you were on Clubhouse.
She is now.
Yay. Hey, Shannon. You should be up here now so you can chat. You have to unmute to do it though.
Let's see. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Welcome.
Shannon.
Okay. I had to reinstall Clubhouse. I had not used it in a long time.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So I would say we definitely have a lot of new construction, which adds, even though we may not have tons of resale, because a lot of the sellers are holding off because of the fact that the rates are higher, and then the cost of, trying to get something newer or bigger, that's going to deter them. But we have tons and tons of builders all around the city. And so there's also like inventory that's not even online yet, because you can still go into a builder and pick your own lot and buy stuff. So there's new construction competition, and then just a ton of buyers are sitting on the fence just because of interest rates, and the big jump up to 7% definitely hurt a few of our first time buyers this week. So yeah, I do feel though there's tons of growth still in Austin, and people just waiting, just on the sidelines until rates come down a little bit. But definitely it's not like people are fleeing the city or anything like that. It's just, we escalated so quickly. We went up about 70% in price value on between 2020 to like the height of the market last year, and we came down about 15 to 20%, but we're still up like 50% from where 2020 started. So it's like, yeah, the prices dropped, but they were way higher than where most of the country went. Now it's like cooled off a little bit, but the values are still up.
Interesting. So it is some increase in inventory, but values are still way up over what they were, right?
True. Yeah.
Do you think builders are building in the price range where buyers want to buy, or are they building in a price range that's out of reach of a lot of Austin home buyers?
There's a variety of prices. It's really hard to find anything under 400,000 unless it's really tiny and you're going to be out. You're not going to be in Austin. You're going to be somewhere in Georgetown and Hutto and Kyle and places that are the surrounding towns. Even then, just the interest rates right now are making even that harder. But a lot of the builders are offering like fixed lower rates. They're offering some 6% in closing costs to buy down your rate. So they're throwing
Wow.
a ton of incentives out there too.
I haven't seen that in a
and
while.
that can make it a little more challenging. That's definitely making it more challenging for resale homeowners that live in the same neighborhood because they can't throw in all those bells and whistles.
Yeah, that's a good point. So when you're in a neighborhood in which the builder is still competing with you, you may not be able to throw in everything that the builder's throwing in, especially if you bought in the last 2 years and now your job is recalling you to go back to Cali. Are you seeing that a lot, Shannon, where someone's like, well, we thought we were going to be here, but now we have to go back to work?
We do. I mean, for various reasons. It's some people are just like, we have some that are just want to change a pace. They, want to go to Colorado or, other places. Some are moving to get somewhere more affordable. Some are moving for family and stuff. I can't say it's specifically for jobs, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard if anyone bought in the last year, especially, and have to move. They are definitely going to be way upside down on what they paid for it and what they're going to get after closing.
And that's something that we haven't seen in a while either. I can remember when I would tell people, like one of the questions in our interview when someone's coming to relocate into our area is, how many years are you going to be here? How long is this next home? How long do you want to own it? And,
Right.
There was a time when I was doing real estate where people would say, well, about 2 years. And we'd say, okay, great, you should be fine. And then we went through a period of time where if they didn't say 4 years, if they said 3 years or less, it changed how we acquired their next property. It changed some of the factors we took into consideration. Like if they had something weird about the house, then this is not one to buy because you're going to be upside down in the future, or you have to get a really, really good deal on the front end. But if they said, 5 to 10 years, well, then they could absorb some of that. If it was the house they wanted in the area they wanted, they weren't finding anything else, they could absorb that. I think we're back to that now. Because in the last 2 years, it's like, oh, you want to sell after owning it for 6 months? Oh, this may be tough. Oh, turns out I was wrong. You sold for $50,000 more. Huh. Don't I look like a fool? But now I think it is returning to that where it's going to create a lot of opportunities for skill where real estate agents are going to have to get creative in a lot of this.
Yeah, definitely. Especially like I said, for anyone buying in a newer construction community, I always tell them at least like 3 to 4 years, or at least you got to wait till the builder finishes out several sections before you have any opportunity of selling. It's just, anyone that's planning on flipping something, it's definitely a very risky time to do that right now.
Well, hopefully you don't need the equity and you can rent it out for a little bit, because that is one of the markets that's a little high on that end. Well, thanks for joining us, Shannon. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Shannon.
There's your go-to for all your Austin info.
I have a few opinions on this.
Yeah, I was fixing to ask you, Christa, what's your take on this?
Okay, so a couple things.
Did you just make fun of me saying fixin'?
Not at all.
It's a fixin'.
Emphasizing.
It's a word
that
most people use.
Fixin'. So I'm fixing to tell you something, Ray.
Okay, good.
I feel like I have to put an accent in there. So
y'all. So
first and foremost, I'm in San Jose Metro, so not Oakland, not San Francisco, thank goodness. But just because they're very different markets from where I am.
Yeah,
so I can't.
That's why.
So I can't speak to those, but I can speak to San Jose Metro, which happens to be on a lot of these lists. There were only 4 months of last year that were higher than where we are right now. So there are 4 months of people that may have to sell in distress that are in a bad situation. Right?
There were only 4 months where prices were higher than where you currently
than where they are today.
I got
it. This graph only goes through March, which I am betting that graph is going to start ticking up a little bit come April, May, as we're getting that data released. But we are up 15% than where we were in the beginning of the year, right? In prices. So things are increasing where we are. We did see a decrease last year or this year versus last year, but it's getting smaller. Right. And that's shrinking. So there's really that 4-month period that people are going to be in a little bit of trouble if they have to sell. They will be upside down. But outside of that 4 months is really not a concern. People are seeing equity outside
Right.
of those 4 months in general.
If we look
We
at
don't have new
the,
construction really either, though.
I'm going to share this graph at the very bottom of that article. There is a graph that does exactly what you were talking about. And I was playing with it a little bit before the show. Okay. So here's this graph. And you said the one above only went through March. So this is the median sell price. And if you look at the median sell price, you can see, and what I thought was interesting is the regular roller coaster that these sell prices are on. It seems like June is just a time for a higher median sell price. Now, remember, that doesn't necessarily mean that buyers are paying more for houses. That could mean that the buyers who are buying during that time period are buying more expensive houses. And so that moves your median up. So it could be a time where if you're in the luxury market, you just see more home sales traditionally during that time of year. But if you look at the very end, it has a down in what month is this? Oh, it doesn't say the month. January, February, January. Yeah, January and February. It had it down and then it went up. It's going back up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of what you're saying, where there was only a couple of months from, well, this one for Seattle, Washington, it was a year. But for you, it was only 4 months last year where they are quote unquote upside down now.
Yeah, and that's seasonally accurate in our market. If you look at the past 5 years, June is always the peak. And if you would sell 2 months later, you're always going to be at a loss pretty much. Just every single year with the data that we have, you're always going to be at a loss. If you buy a house and sell it 2 months later, if you buy at the peak of the season in that year. So this isn't really off from what we've seen historically. It's just more newsworthy.
Yes.
And those numbers look really good for a news article. However, if you look at it from an analytical perspective, you'll say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. This is the season. This is what happens seasonally every single year without fail, except in 2020. 2020 is the only year that we did not see that happen. Yeah. And Dusty says Arizona's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of hotter markets, not literally, but in desire and demand, a lot of times you see that.
I think Dusty has said on the show before that it is literally because it's so hot that they don't even want to go outside in Arizona in the summer. And that does hamper sales a little bit. Kind of much like the winter sales for places that just pile up with snow. It's a very difficult place to sell. All right,
People just go on vacation here. Is that a thing? Is that a thing everywhere? Like we all just go to Tahoe in the summer. So we're pretty not much here.
There are a lot of, well, I mean, we have pretty good summer sales here. I mean, I think a lot of people do staycations here because it's such a pretty place anyway. They'll just, all right. So the last article I want to cover, we'll just kind of fold it into what we're already discussing. I won't do a bumper or anything. But it's from Redfin. It says, how much are home prices rising or falling? The answer depends more on location than it has in over a decade. So this is the trick, I guess you could say. In the title, it was home prices decreasing 10%. They are decreasing 10% in San Francisco, but in Miami, they're up 10%. So that's a 21% difference. They're decreasing in San Francisco 10.1%, increasing Miami 10.9%. So what we're seeing, and I'll show this chart. It's an interesting phenomenon around the country where you're seeing home price growth and home price decreases. This is the home price growth gap. It's a 13-year high during the pandy. So you can see where you had some home price growth and going down. This is according to the Case-Shiller Home Price Index and Redfin analysis of that data. It says data from 1988 through February of 2023, the most recent month for which data has been available. Home price report. Oh, never mind. Oh, this is what I wanted to cover. Metro to metro variations in home price growth reached 13-year high in the spring of 2022 at the tail end of the pandy home buying boom. Though variation came down since then, price growth still fluctuates more than before. The historic home price gap between San Francisco and Miami just illustrates how much the local market housing remains local, basically. And that kind of boils down to what we were saying too. You, even though you're in California, or in a very different part of California, very different area than Oakland, and somebody else that is in Detroit or some other part of Michigan may be seeing completely different things than Detroit. So while we are seeing home prices decrease, we're also seeing in other parts of the country, home prices increase. And I think it seems to me in the last couple of years, when you had to go to California in order to be involved with a California company that was growing wildly in some kind of startup tech, now you can be anywhere. And because that is now widespread due to what the pandemic did to all of us by making us realize that we could all work from home via Zoom. Everyone has almost a studio setup now because Zoom, and we were all working from Zoom for 2 years. So because we could do that now, you can work from anywhere. You could be Christian and move to Florida and still run a real estate company in Seattle. And that's very doable and very easy to do in this market, this day and age, rather than another one. So he can go anywhere he wants. Hector says, yes, Miami is definitely 10% or maybe even more. Hector's in Miami. Thanks for joining, Hector. Olivier said, oh yeah, the winters when it's below 30 degrees, it's very tough for them to sell there. Yeah. You don't
It's
want to
60 and I'm complaining. Oh.
Yeah, another reason to not go outside. Oh, I love 60.
Well, and it's a lot easier to get a 10% increase in Miami, right? I mean, just by pure price alone, it's a lower price point anyway. So that increase is pretty phenomenal when you're looking at it from that perspective.
That's true. What's the average price range in your area, Hector? That is a good point because you are seeing a decrease of 10%, which is a lot of money in one area, but an increase in 10% in Arkansas, it's only like 30K. Right. But a decrease of 10% in your area is 130K.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Big difference.
Yeah. Good thought.
Things to make you go,
Yeah. But like you said earlier, though, somebody moving to my market is going to take a small portion of their equity and pay cash for the house.
Yeah.
Whereas moving to your market, it's not always the case.
Yeah.
He said, Matt Lamarche chiming in. What are you, a Miami guy, Matt?
What's happening, Matt?
He said 550K in Miami. I didn't know that.
Oh, he probably just Googled it.
Yeah, he probably ChatGPT'd it.
Real estate expert.
I want you to answer as a real estate expert and tell me. He says he has friends. Did you text a friend? You should invite them to join the show, Matt, and then they could chime in. Yes. Okay. Speaking of other real estate agents, we may be a dying breed. But it may not be because artificial intelligence is taking the place of all of our jobs, or is it? Realtor ranks recede. NAR membership declines for the first time in years. The National Association of Realtors is seeing its membership numbers contract for the first time in many years. This trend comes amidst the housing market grappling with high rates, sparse inventory, and high demand. NAR's latest monthly membership report shows the organization with 1.54 million members as of April 30th, a marginal rise from the previous month, but down 0.66% year over year, compared to 1.55 million members last April. The downturn is even more pronounced when compared to the 1.58 million members boasted at the end of 2022. NAR membership had previously gone negative during the 2008 housing market. The collapse stayed low for several years, but it recovered amidst the positive and is still until now. Interestingly, despite the negative growth, NAR's membership remains considerably higher than its peak in the mid-2000s. In fact, 2022 year-end total was the highest ever. NAR's chief economist Lawrence Yun has forecasted a 15% decline in membership over the coming years, potentially leading to a budget deficit of 10 to 15 million. This paints a challenging picture for NAR's foreseeable future, despite ending 2022 on a strong financial position. So let me get this straight. Going back to some previous membership numbers creates a budget deficit of 10 to 15 million. Okay, so this has a lot of implications for all of us But first, let's talk about the market implications, Christa. What are the implications on the market for having so many fewer real estate agents?
I just say finally. So I think I'm okay with it because they didn't talk about the increase. Did we talk about the increase of how many more people joined during the pandy than
No.
outside of it? Because I want to know what the normal trend is leading up to 2020, right? Because
Okay,
okay,
I have that. I have this. That's a great question.
love data.
I have a
right?
chart.
Come on, I need charts.
Yeah, it's a good chart. It's from Twitter, so it can be trusted.
Believe everything on the internet.
No,
I mean, how many
it's
people?
actually,
Go ahead.
it says realtors are quitting. So this is the chart.
Yeah, because it's hard.
No. Okay, is that the reason, or are we being replaced and people are like, oh, it's going to get even harder?
No. Well,
So growth in realtors in America, year-over-year growth rate, and it cites NAR as the source, and you can see the numbers. This is from 1985 to today. It says realtors are quitting. Growth rate in realtors registered with NAR went negative in May of 2023 for the first time in nearly a decade. So it has been all over the place. You can see that it was a positive growth. Now, this is growth rate. This is not actual membership numbers.
Right.
But you can see that the growth rate was really high in 2005, 2006. And then it plunged in 2008 crash. It was negative 10.6% for context. In the early 1990s crash, it was negative 7.2%. Now, some may argue, Christa, that the decrease and the decline in numbers foreshadows a potential housing market crash. Would you use these numbers to signify that?
No, I think crash happens before that. Well, yeah, I mean, in a sense, I guess, because people are not making money. And if you're in a line of work that is reliant on the market being strong and you can't figure out a way to get out of that, then you have to find another job, right? And
Yeah.
I think, again, I think this is delayed data, though. I think that this is people leaving. I mean, how is this based? So I pay my dues annually. So I wouldn't quit, quote unquote, until my dues are due. So those numbers aren't going to be accurate based on what's happening in the market. Does that make sense?
That's true. Yeah. I mean, you would see a larger
tomorrow.
number at the end of the year.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean,
because your dues aren't due.
But there's no implication around that. I can say I'm still a realtor and go get another job. I can do that anyway.
That's a really good point. How do they see? I guess they just see a drop in membership, like people just declining to be a member.
Do they send a survey? Because I don't answer those.
Maybe we're looking at the decrease in the rate of increase, right? Maybe. So it's maybe that's what we're looking at.
But I think that it's more that during the pandy, things were crazy and you could basically breathe in the direction of a buyer or a seller and get that deal, versus now there's actual work to be done and generation of the business. And yeah, I mean, Dusty, like you said, there's no structure or game plan. If you went into this business during the pandy, things were easy. You weren't doing any lead generation. You weren't doing anything else. You were just busy. And now it has changed dramatically. And we've all felt it. We've all seen it.
Yeah.
And quitting seems to be a very instant reaction to something that it's
an easy way out.
Yeah. And I mean, sure, for those that this is too hard for and they quit during this season, okay. In 2018, my head was in the way. I couldn't see on the graph. But in 2018,
in 2018, your head was in. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I thought you meant like back in 2018, your head was in the way.
No,
like, what?
No, okay. It was literally.
For the audio listeners, she means that her head was blocking the graph.
Right.
Yeah.
But in 2018,
it was going down.
I think it dropped as well. And I think this is going to be very similar to that, because that's exactly what we saw back then. Things dipped a little bit. It got harder, and then it picked up again. So I think that that's going to be true. And I apologize to those that are quitting, but good riddance.
Dusty says
Universe
that I'm
after
with
you.
her. Fine by me. She said 90% in my market don't even get videos for their listings. They're behind the times. Happy to see them go. I would argue that probably a lot of those agents that are making the listings are the younger agents, you know, that are kind of newer to the market, that should be well acquainted with social media marketing and video that just haven't. Here's another chart. We love charts. This shows the relationship between realtor growth and home price growth. Isn't that interesting?
Okay.
So you can see that the home price growth way outpaced realtors in recent years. But then as home prices have gone down, so have realtors. And we made the comment, does the decrease in realtors foreshadow or follow? And you can see throughout history, it's kind of got a weird relationship. And sometimes you see the realtors make a move first. And in other times, like in 2005, you see the market start to go down, and then the number of realtor growth starts to go down. Recently, though, you did see realtor growth go down just as homes hit their peak, and then the decline started to follow there. Another cool graph. How much do you think? Don't read my screen. Wait. All right. What do you think the average realtor makes a year?
Gosh, you're frozen. But how much do they make? Ooh, maybe, I don't know how much people make in general and national averages here. Maybe $20,000.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought too. I was like,
Well,
probably like $30,000. No, the average realtor only earns $58,000 in commission a year.
that seems oddly high to me.
It does. That's what I thought too. But here's the number. Here's commissions per realtor. This is inflation adjusted. The source is Zillow. So maybe I don't know where they're getting their data, but
Maybe this is only Zillow agents because they pay salary.
maybe. The average realtor only earns $58,000 in commissions with inflation adjusted terms. So you could see where it was. Good times and good times.
The average realtor, how many homes do they sell on average?
The numbers always that I've heard has always been 4, but I think that's up now.
Okay. 58,000 in commission outside of, the coastal states.
This is the number of realtors in America, where you can see it just kind of it ebbs and flows in 2 or 3 waves. Since 1985, there was a small wave, then a large wave to the 2006 peak that goes down to 2011, 12-ish. And then it begins to go up in these little hills all the way up to the 2022 peak. And now it goes down. It's starting to go down on average. All right, so some interesting data. Let me get to some of these comments. Jason, man, he nailed it. He said 60,000 was his guess. Matt Lamar said 18,000. Nope, that was way wrong. He said, how big of a role, Jason Bates says, how big of a role does social play in selling a home? It doesn't seem to have that big of an impact. I mean, it depends on your lead source. It does for me and Christa. Mm-hmm. I know we both sell property. Yeah,
definitely.
I've sold one on Snapchat before. So you can sell a home in a lot of different social medias. I think when you use them well, it's just like any tool. Yeah. Right? If there's a shovel sitting in my backyard, it's not going to do anything until I pick it up and start digging with it.
Exactly. Like, you're not going to post a video on Instagram for the first time ever and sell a house. Take some time.
Yes. Christian says, are they excluding agents that sell nothing in a year? Isn't it like 40% of all licensed agents? Yeah.
Christian, I agree.
Maybe they are excluding the inactive. Maybe that's what they're doing to get that higher number.
Yeah, because we go back to that 80-20 rule of how many realtors are actually generating business. That baffles me that they would be making. Yeah.
Dusty rewrote the 80-20 rule to be a 75-25 rule, which I'm sure is the similar rule.
In the Pandy, I think that's the accurate number.
75% only do 25% of the business. Yeah. So my take on it, realtors for years have had to prove their value proposition. Since video, the introduction of video into the marketplace in 2005, 4, 5, 6, I think you've started to see some advances in technology that didn't get pushed through as quickly in our industry as it did in other industries, because there was a giant crash in our industry. And when that happened, one of the things I saw was that people stopped wanting to pay money for a 360 tour. Agents instead said, hey, I'll have a online 360 tour. And really it was just the same photos on the MLS set to music moving around in a slideshow. And some agents are still doing that. I think the agents that will make it are not the ones that adopt tech. Jason has a point. I understand what he's saying, because you have a lot of agents that have adopted tech and they post a just listed post on their social media and it does absolutely nothing. Yeah. So I don't think you can be an agent that just adopts the best tech, that joins whatever the best brokerage is, that joins a brokerage that's been there for 180 years, or the new startup that's been there for 2. That none of that is going to matter. I think what will matter most are the skills and expertise of that agent to do everything and to use social media in order to actually sell the house, or to use their skills as a negotiator to get their clients the best deal while selling their house above asking, negotiating the best possible terms and price for them as they sell. It's going to be a very skills-based economy moving forward, and less of a shiny thing based economy. Yep. Because the shiny things are going to go towards the consumers. They're going to stop pushing them towards agents and start directing them at consumers with the help of companies like Zillow. So the more shiny things that they give the consumer, then the less that old realtor looks very polished. So I think real estate agents really need to up their game in order to make it. And when that becomes difficult, like, oh, it's hard, I have to come up with a whole presentation. Yeah, you do. And if you don't look polished, if you just go in thinking you got this because they're your friend, you're going to be really surprised when they say, hey, we just decided to list with this robot. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, make yourself irreplaceable.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, Christa, thank you for joining us today.
I'm so excited. I feel half the time like I'm just listening. Like I'm just cleaning my house listening to the podcast.
Yeah, shout out to all the podcast listeners. That most of our audience are podcast listeners. We do have a YouTube channel if you are on podcast. So we'd appreciate if you would subscribe, hit the bell, watch some episodes there, catch up. I also have some short form video clips that are going to come out of all these episodes. And I'm going to be posting shorts of articles that didn't make the cut. So there's 3 articles that I'm going to try to do. I know I'm going to definitely do one. It's about the moon in Dubai. If you don't know about it, it's a moon replica. It's awesome. It didn't make the cut for today's show. So there's going to be some things like that I'm going to post on there as shorts as well, just for the shorts audience. But if you like the show, please subscribe, hit the bell. Let us know what you think in the podcast. You can do a review. That really doesn't do anything for us, actually. What does something for us? It really does. I've been studying podcasts and people are like, oh, leave a review. It helps the analytics. No, it doesn't. What really helps is when you send this podcast to other people like you that you think would actually listen. So I appreciate it, Christa. Before we go, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, Instagram is the best place, at Homes by Christa, Christa. That's me.
See, there you go, Instagram. And you can find me on Instagram at Razorback. That's RAYZORBACK. Thanks everyone for joining us this week. We'll see you next time.